Thomas Dimitroff joining us from Sumer Sports. He, of course, spent lots of time in front offices making lots of decisions and pulling some good talent. So we're going to talk to him about all things, I don't know, maybe Chargers, maybe hit them up a little, maybe a little late-round quarterbacks not getting drafted, a little Rattler being a nice little value for those New Orleans Saints who I love so much. Those Pelicans, though, ooh, looking shabby. Watched the game last night. I'm back. I've got sparkles on my eyes as a foil to make me look alive because I'm dead inside. Thomas Dimitroff, Sumer Sports. Let's go. All right, let's do this. It's officially the offseason until it's like schedule release time, which, Hamilton, remind me, when is that? When does that start happening?
We don't know for sure. It could be next Friday. It could be the Friday after that.
Okay.
But yeah, it's coming up.
Next Friday would be annoying. Well, I say that's not true because we need content. This Friday, listen, we did a Friday show last week, live from Cabo. People thought Luke Kuechly was in Cabo with me. No, I would have loved that. This Friday, so we did, it's Summer Fridays, we do not do shows, but special announcement, we will be doing a show this Friday because our show headed to the Derby. We're taking like a siesta in the middle of our work week. No show Wednesday. I don't know what's going to happen on Wednesday, where we're going to put something on the air, maybe not, maybe yes. But we are going to fly to Louisville. Or no, I learned how to say this last year. Louisville. I don't know how to say it anymore. I have to figure it out. We're going to, all the favorites. We're going to talk to Rapoli. Rapoli and Tom Brady own a horse together this year. That's a nice little shakeup. All the usuals. Bobby Flay is going to stop by the show. We're going to make fun of each other. It's going to be brilliant. Is Deion Dawkins going to the Derby? We asked him, put an invite out. He said, I think I might go. I don't know. I haven't heard from him. We told Mr. Snowman, do not blow up on me and become too big time for me. And it looks like that's what's happening.
It's happening already.
I know. We got to get him and his thoughts, unless he's just weeping into a pillow about the Buffalo Bills and their 2024 season that's about to go down. And Chandler Parsons, who I'm just going to, ride his coattails. He's going to be my lead blocker through the ins and outs of the Derby world. He seems like an infield guy.
Yeah, and he's going to know everybody. You know that. He's going to have every connection in that building.
Yeah, I think there was a statue of Chandler Parsons at Mango Deck in Cabo this weekend. All hail Chandler Parsons. He was here. I was in Cabo for a bachelorette party. I went to a place that was full of NFL fans.
Oh, boy.
As you can
I'm
imagine,
sure you love that.
It was a place called Mango Deck that no one fully prepared me for. And it was MTV Spring Break meets men wearing Harley Davidson T-shirts unironically. That was the vibe of this place. And I was dead inside. It was soulless. It was soulless.
I was going to say, that seems like your type of scene. I'm surprised.
I was terrified, but I put on a good face. And, I talked, the best thing about going to like a Cabo or something where they have a lot of merchandise, it's so fun to see which NFL swag they have. Which teams are, and I got to tell you, it was very heavy Niners all weekend, very heavy Broncos. But I have a feeling that's because Sean Payton for sure has residency in one of those booths at Mango Deck in Cabo, and they were great to me and took a lot of my money. Okay, we've got a lot to get to. Derby this week. We will be there doing live shows Thursday and I believe a 2-hour show somehow. Miraculously, I would love Mike Tirico to stop by like he did last year. That was so much fun. I have it on good authority. Rebecca Lowe, the GOAT, is going to be in the building, paddock? What do you call it? I don't know. We're going to get to talking about that, but it's nice to, on my flight home, and there's no better place to do some deep thinking than Cabo Airport. So I really did that, and we grazed over and really went through all the things in the draft. And I got to say, I'm so proud of the show, Hammy, because we really pulled some awesome sound bites out of these draft prospects, over 30 of them to stop by the show. And it's very fun now to see where they are and to root them on.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of full circle moments. We're going to be showing a lot of those in the show today where we asked guys about things, kind of manifested situations for some of these players too. So a lot of fun. Can't wait to dig into it today.
Let's do it. It was in Detroit, not the center of the NFL universe, of course, second to Cabo. And we wanted to take a chance to dig into things a little bit deeper. We gave the Bears and really NFC North heavy show on Friday with Luke Kuechly and Sam Hartthrob, who I will never live that interview down. God, I was like, was it a dream? Did that actually happen? We're following each other on Instagram, though, now. Hey-o. Vikings and Bears got plenty of love after their Thursday, after their other rounds this weekend. But there's some teams that really made marks that we need to give love to. And let's go to, Sam Hartman's new team, the Commanders. Listen, and people have crushes on Adam Peters. I hear it a lot around the league. I swear I do. But he crushed this draft as a GM. First draft as a GM. Little wheelin' and dealin'. He got 6 players in the first 3 rounds alone to amp up the roster. Let's take a look at what he did here. He, of course, got Heisman-winning quarterback Jaden Daniels on Thursday night. That's big. A lot of upside there. Followed it up with an unbelievable day 2, okay? Commanders get D-tackle Johnny Newton, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year out of Illinois. A lot of people had him as a first rounder, so I call that a value. They made a trade down with Philly to snag a couple more second rounders, which they used to take Sainer Still, Mr. Mikey from Michigan, to help fix the 32nd ranked pass D. They're stockpiling support for Jaden. You loved seeing it. Tight end Ben Sinnott from K-State, much needed O-lineman, and Brandon Coleman from TCU. And then they get with a beautiful, beautiful moment. The 3rd round with the receiver in Luke McCaffrey. Yeah, one of those McCaffreys, they're going to bring it and give 100%. Matt Miller told me last week, he could be the steal of the draft. By the way, Matt Miller, excellent job up there doing your thing for ESPN. It was very cool to watch. So, someone cooked here, and that was Adam Peters, and he knows it. Take a listen to what he had to say about his haul, and look at this.
It was a great night for us, for everybody here, and we got a lot better, and we got a lot of guys who we consider commanders. We were a little nervous that he wasn't going to make it to us at 36. We looked at moving up to get him. Very surprising. We had a first-round grade on him, and he is an explosive, violent player. Was really the heart and soul of that Michigan team. I think anybody will even tell you. I know JJ had a big part in that too, but I think anybody will tell you Mikey, as much as anybody, was a team leader. It's a lofty comparison, and I'm not comparing him to the guys we had in San Francisco, but he reminds me of guys like Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle, the way he blocks and the way he moves and just the way he competes.
Adam Peters cooked and gave some lofty praise for some of these rookies. And when you add this loaded draft class to what the Commanders did in free agency, they have a projected 14 new starters. They've added 32 new players to this roster already. This is a massive overhaul. This is that new wave. I went to this camp. They were so excited. It didn't work out with Howell. It didn't work out. Couldn't protect him. Couldn't get it done. But I'm telling you right now, if Jaden Daniels' game translates to the NFL, which I think it will, I hope it will, is he in the best situation? I don't know. But I think that he has the talent to do it. I believe in him. I'm going to believe in him until he proves me wrong. These Commanders, they're going to push for a playoff spot, contingent on Daniels, of course, in the NFC this season. Next up, and I know I'm usually the only one in the national world where I'm like, let's talk about the Chargers. Let's give love to the Chargers. I do it year in, year out. It's like, on my bingo board. It's the tattoo on my ass. But I know there were a lot of Chargers fans that were ticked off when Joe Alt's name was called instead of Malik Neighbors, Rome, all that. We were ahead of it. We said, they're between the trenches and a hard place when it comes to the front office and Jim. What are they going to do? We know what Jim likes historically, but we know what they need because they got rid of Keenan and they got rid of Mike Williams and company. And Eckler. I think the draft LA put together is why you cannot judge things based off a first-round choice. You got to see the full photo here. And I want to say, first of all, I do like the Joe Alt pick. Don't kill me, hear me out. I think it's a perfect match. You have a quarterback that I can't get a sentence out of my mouth without saying injury. Out, not feeling good, playing through injury when it comes to Justin Herbert. 2 major ones in the last 2 seasons. Nothing else matters if Justin Herbert's not healthy. And now you have a tackle, university beloved by evaluators. Everyone agrees on him. And he's being labeled as generational. He's getting the Orlando Pace comparisons. He's got the pedigree, all of that. The old way of having Herbert dropping back 8 million times per game which is what I want to see. I want the fireworks show. Why wouldn't I? It wasn't working. No one has attempted more passes over the last 2 seasons than the LA Chargers. How about that? Has it resulted in anything but a couple highlights? No, it hasn't resulted in a single playoff win. I like Harbaugh and you know what they're doing, building from the inside out in the shadow of Telesco, obviously going to the Raiders and doing his thing. There's a lot of things that this squad is doing together, and I can't imagine what that's like. And Dimitroff can talk about this in a minute. When you're together for the first time, trying to figure this out and what to do. Clearly, full picture. Let's zoom out. They're going to try to play a more physical brand of football. This is a more balanced offense. And, you know, I make fun of it a lot with the Greg Roman of it all. Like, what are you going to do? Like you have Justin Herbert and you're just going to run the ball? I guess balance is the goal. And in the long run, probably will be for the benefit of Justin Herbert and maybe this offense altogether. And by the way, we did see the Chargers add options for Herbert later, too. They got Ladd McConkey, friend of the show, out of Georgia, top of the 2nd. They get USC receiver Brendan Rice, friend of the show, okay, in the 7th. And then Harbaugh's Michigan man, Cornelius Johnson, friend of the show, a couple picks later. So they added a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball as well. If you want to focus on the receivers really quickly, yeah, you heard me. All 3 of those dudes stopped by the show in the draft process. So we had McConkey on how playing at Georgia got him ready for the NFL. Brendan Rice talking about Jim Harbaugh, by the way, and Cornelius Johnson, you know, not only the connection to Harbaugh, but talking about liking the Chargers growing up. It's all very cute.
Going against all the players that I go against in practice. And, like, you see it, like, year after year, we have, like, 15, 12, like, guys go in the NFL draft. And, what was it, 2021, we had, like, 5 or 6 guys from the defense side of the ball go in the first round. So, like, I go against those guys every day in practice, and it just makes me so much better. So that, and then, you know, the preparation. Coach Smart's going to get us ready one way or another.
What was that interview with Jim like? Were you in the RV, Brendan?
Oh, no, I was not in the RV. But I've met Jim Harbaugh a couple times before, so like I already know his type of energy and what he brings to the game. I was recruited to Michigan, and he was just an upbeat person, an upbeat personality. But like what he brings to the game of football, like you have to go ahead and admire who he is.
Playing with Justin Herbert would be pretty cool, huh? That arm.
Oh, most definitely. Goodness.
Listen, there's a little space out there out west in that receiver room. Would you enjoy a reunion with him?
That would be crazy. I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, I remember the San Diego Chargers were one of my favorite teams growing up with LaDainian.
Oh, yeah.
Vincent Jackson, Leggett Nane. Who else they had? Darren Sproles, like all those guys.
Yeah, little number 43 running back there. That was the best.
Yeah, like that was my squad.
Okay, it's hard not to be excited for these threes, and credit to my awesome production staff for sort of getting me set for these interviews, and we asked all the right questions. Either that or we manifested those things happening. Either way, loved seeing it, you know, and I'm excited for them. Let's not act like last year's first rounder, Quentin Johnston, doesn't have a world of potential. What is he, like 6 million? Like he's 6'4", big wingspan. Keenan and Mike last year told me great things about him. They took him under his wing, so I'm sure he's ready for this stage. Like this is what he wants, right? These two, you know, OGs are gone. Now it's my time to shine with Justin Herbert throwing me the ball. I know he wasn't able to put it together last year, but he's 22. He's only 22. He's got a high ceiling, and nobody's talking about him. So, okay, I'm in on the approach with Harbaugh and co. And I just hope Greg Roman has a little something new to show me. Just a little something. Are we doing Niners? Did I misunderstand that? Can I go into my Niners take? Control room. Can I do my Niners? Okay, we're going to say, I wanted to get into the Niners, but I hear that Dimitroff's ready to go. So I want to know who killed it, which GM he wants to talk about, you know, lots of questions to ask him. So we're going to take a short break here, and we'll be back with my Sumer Sports friend, Thomas Dimitroff, after this. All right. Hammy, I feel like we can save that Niners.
Yeah, definitely.
That Chargers was too long, but the sod's so good. I was telling him while it was running, we should just put just the sod out.
Yeah, I think we can do just the sod.
I don't think it needs the context. I think it just needs good copy.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I think we put that out separately, and I think we put the alt stuff out separately.
Mm-hmm. We want Rebecca Lowe on Up and Adams. I want Rebecca Lowe on Up and Adams. In fact, please put this on Instagram or something so Rebecca Lowe sees this. Jordan, running our social media. Rebecca Lowe, I heard you're going to the Derby. Can I find you? Can we speak? Can I just have a minute of the Queen's time, the King's time? Can I just have just a couple moments to reunite? I, of course, was at NBC when Rebecca Lowe got hired, when they got the rights to Premier League, and I was in awe of her. In absolute awe of her. And I was like this young buck who wore like black eyeliner all over my face, and I just, she was just, it was and is the king. So, yeah. If not for an interview, a hug, a cheers, love you. Check. Okay, we've got Dimitroff. Then are we gonna do the quarterbacks?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll do the quarterbacks.
We'll do the Rattler
and
SOP. We'll do the Rattler SOP there. Then we're doing that completely.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Great.
Yep.
Are we good to start with? Should we start with like Penix?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good spot to start.
Yeah, his former team.
Yeah.
Probably still the biggest story of the weekend too.
Yeah. I didn't make that up, right? Hartman went to the Commanders?
Yep.
Yep. God, it'll be so interesting to see.
Excited. All 30 of those guys that we got are 32 now. All landed with teams.
Did I hear a whisper about a Jameis Winston at the Derby?
It's happening.
No, it's not. It's happening. You guys are full of shit.
He had a lot of thoughts about your analysis too. He watches the show. He loves your analysis.
What are you talking about? Jameis Winston?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Oh yeah. This is what I've heard.
I cannot have a serious conversation with Jameis Winston. I have clowned on Jameis Winston for my entire career.
We gotta have him and Chandler do something.
We'll have to ask Coach Payton what we should ask him.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, welcome back to Up and Adams. It is now Derby week, but we are still very much in the aftermath, aka the hangover of the NFL draft. 3 days, lots of rounds, everything happened. No one better and no one I'm more excited and really honored to be talking to than former general manager of the Atlanta Falcons for 12 seasons, two-time NFL Exec of the Year, currently the CEO of Sumer Sports, bringing the analytics and the instincts and all of it right now. Thomas Dimitroff, how are you?
I'm good. You're excited about the Derby, as I am. I'm excited for you.
Are you going?
No, I step back and dream about going, but I never get a chance to go. I'm sure you do.
I feel like you'd have a great outfit.
Maybe. Is it all about hats? I don't know. I'm not a hat guy.
No, you're a suit guy, though. You do a good suit. I feel like you could crush it. We need you at the Derby. We'll have to figure it out for next year. But you probably want a nap because you've just been crushing it with Sumer Sports, everything you're doing. Sometimes you're on a podcast. You're whipping out all this content. But this is your time to thrive. So the story of the draft involved your former team and the decision to draft Michael Penix, head scratcher for a lot of people. And I got to just ask you, somebody who's constructed NFL rosters and ran drafts 12 years for the Falcons, you guarantee Cousins $100 million. How can you, from a financial and a draft capital standpoint, defend this was a good use of their resources?
So I've thought a lot about it, and knowing that organization, I want to lead in by saying I have no inside information on this pick. What I do is, however, step back and realize this is an organization, as you know, who has some really talented offensive players. They're an organization as well and a fan base that is just craving more wins, playoff appearances, maybe another drive to the Super Bowl. And it is about here and now as well, right? So as an organization, it's not about the move of taking Michael Penix at 8. It's more about what you're talking about. Why so much money into a free agent quarterback like Kirk Cousins? I step back and I think they have to have looked at this as a big picture. Let's win now. Let's keep the fan base engaged. Let's continue to develop. Let's continue to evolve with our young offensive talent. And let's bring a quarterback in, a la the Green Bay Packers. Although it is a very different and arguable situation, I get that. However, this organization and fan base needs to win now. And I just believe that was probably their approach to think about now. Let's move now and let's worry about later. I know there's a lot of discussion. I know it's polarizing for a lot. I'm just trying to find out where they're going with this. And that's what I fell on, or I summarized. Given my understanding, we have a very, very competitive owner. Arthur Blank is great. He always gives the money back to that team to do whatever they need to do for this fan base. And I think it's a situation where they all came together and decided that was the best way to approach the next year and more.
Okay. Very thoughtful answer. I like your disclaimer about not having inside info, but 12 years is inside info. So, knowing what you know about how these things go down, did Arthur Blank sign off on this move?
Well, I think Arthur Blank is the owner. Obviously, it is his train set. The way that they made it look in the social media was that he was explaining right in the draft room about a move like that. That's not the case. I mean, the reality is there's a lot of good, thoughtful discussion within that organization because of Arthur's approach. That picture that you see right there is not the explanation. It's more talking about next steps and what's going on. That's the way I see it. We would always have meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday of the draft and go through many scenarios. So there are never surprises for an owner like Arthur or anyone else within the building. There might have been differences of opinion outside. I could almost guarantee that within that building, there was so much discussion about it that it wasn't polarizing inside the building, which I think is important, albeit possibly for the two quarterbacks.
Well said by you. If anybody has any questions, everybody's hitting this up. It's very fascinating. And everybody, of course, Twitter, you're mentioning, has their own thoughts on it. You were in the building for so long, so it's nice to get your perspective on it. It doesn't, it doesn't make a, if I'm the GM, I'm trying to support. What would you do different? Would you do it differently? Would you do it this way? Or would you try to say, hey, we're going all in the NFC because we have a $100 million quarterback that we need to now support with weapons so he can go do his thing?
I think this has much more to do with the prior time, right, as they were signing Kirk Cousins and what was out there quarterback-wise. They made a public statement that he was their number 2 quarterback, I believe. So there was a known factor that this guy was coveted by the organization. That is important, and it probably didn't just come up during the draft, of course. That's not how it works, right? You think about these things a lot. You map out every position, and you run through scenarios of, if so-and-so is there, how will we address this? Could we potentially have moved back? There was talk about that early on, but the reality is there were a number of teams in that 10, 11, 12, 13 area and beyond that were thinking about moving up for Michael. Michael Penix is a darn good football player. We know that. How are they going to manage this moving forward is something. And the fact that they didn't take a defensive player that could get up and around the corner and rush the passer, Kay, is something that I think is, it's complicated for a lot of fans to understand that, because that team definitely does need that outside pass rush.
Well, yeah, I feel like you're not giving an answer. Like, let's go for it in the NFC. If I'm a Falcons fan and that's my, you have a different perspective, I'm saying go for it. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's not satisfactory to any fan that's going to watch this. Like, or watch, sort of, I don't know. I don't know if it was the right thing, but I would, like, what do you think Kirk Cousins' timeline is?
Well, I think Kirk Cousins' timeline is to come and play right away and start right away, and in their minds win a lot of games right away and get him into the playoffs and potentially a move towards the Super Bowl. Otherwise, they would not have spent the money. They're not just doing that, in my mind, to win a few games and put his jersey up on the billboard or put his face up on the billboard in his jersey. This is about winning and winning now. And again, Arthur Blank is very competitive. He has been through the ups and downs of complications with quarterbacks since Matt Ryan has left. This is important for them to win now. Speaking for myself, not for Arthur, of course.
Of course. Now, the Falcons passed on J.J. McCarthy. J.J. goes to the Vikings. They've got, that's a nice little situation. Atlanta is, too, with weaponry, but Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson. Is he the quarterback that you think landed in the best-case scenario in terms of development, the future, or is it somebody else?
No, I like J.J. McCarthy right where he is. I like what the Vikings did there, going after who they wanted, albeit a fairly small move. I'm used to monumental draft moves,
yes,
of course, and trades. Right, but this seemed rather basic and a good move, making sure that no one else was moving in there. I like it for them. I like what the Vikings had, how they approached their first round. I like their movement. I thought they were aggressive, which is a very interesting thing for a general manager like Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, who has background in data. All of my data nerds, all of the people in our company, they keep hammering me many, many times over about, you got to move back, you got to move back. And your move up for Julio was against what we believe in data. But they do say many, many times, my good friend Eric Eager, who's my co-host, he often says, look, however, it depends on the organization. And in Atlanta during that time, we were in a different spot. The teams that trade up or not trade back, it is contingent on where the team is, how they're building, and the long range view of it all. There are some people out there, move back, move back, move back. That's a great approach, maybe. But in today's not for long league, Kay, if you're sitting on your hands and you're not going for it, you might not be around in 2 or 3 years to reap the benefits.
That Julio trade is one of the greatest draft trades, if not the greatest, of all time. So there's data, and we love it, but instinct sort of comes. How big of a percentage is instinct if we're talking numbers and figures?
That is a great point. We can go through all of the data, and we can crunch it up and down, and you can talk with everyone. In the end, it's about who's going to come in and who's going to affect not only your organization, but those around you. I always said quickly with people like Julio and impact players, if they can get teams on their heels, let's speak offensively, and it's not just underneath routes or deep routes, but keep people guessing. And I've often said it could be four passes to a guy like that or a player like that or 14. It's the question of going into the game with a lot of effort and a lot of angst going into top-notch players. I believe those players are worth going up for. Back in the day, that wasn't a big thing, or that was a big thing, Kay. You wouldn't move up for certain positions. Today, people are taking the best players they can to affect their organization.
Thomas, you know that if you were the GM of the Falcons, you would never have drafted Penix and you would have traded up for Marvin Harrison Jr. Let's be honest.
They have so much talent there. I would say my approach to it is we got to keep building where our needs are. And Kay, I am, this. It is about needs. I'm a needs-based approach person. Okay. And a lot of GMs are. I mean, yes, you want the best player, but needs-based, you need to make sure you accomplish that. If you fiddle around and don't accomplish that, then you're going to be sitting there with holes, and you're going to be looking for people in free agency, which aren't usually a good value at certain positions, of course.
Very well and politically correctly said. And at some point, that means you're back in the game as a GM, and I cannot wait. By the way, you're answering these questions. Okay, it wasn't just the Falcons. It wasn't just whatever. You spent a lot of time in New England. This was a fascinating draft, I'm sure, from your perspective, as any fans, a New England fan, the first one without Old Bill since literally the 90s, since 1999. They draft Drake May. I don't think that surprised anybody at 3rd overall. Nice fit there. Seven of their 8 picks were on offense. Assess the direction the Patriots are heading in and what you liked about their draft.
Look, it starts off with this, Kay. Elliott Wolf, in his first time sitting at the helm, basically, right, picking the players. Those of you who don't know, I mean, Elliott Wolf is the son of Ron Wolf, famed, Hall of Famed, team builder, of course. His opportunity to get a legitimate quarterback like Drake May. Yes, of course, there are elements that he needs to grow with. And I know Coach Belichick has made strong comments about footwork with a guy like Drake May. And I get that, and we get that. But he has a lot that he's coming to the table for with Kay that I think you build around. That organization, another organization, craving a quarterback that's going to come in and do great things for years to come. He's got a mind about him. He's got an arm about him. He is a very good athlete as a size. Remember, Kay, back in the day, you used to look for athletes and think, okay, I got to get a 6-foot guy or a 5'11" guy who can move around. In today's world, you're seeing these guys like Allen, like Herbert, et cetera, who are moving around like they're 6-foot athletes. I believe that is the case with Drake as well. I'm really excited for the Patriots to jump in. I know there was also talk about taking a quarterback later. And the kid from Tennessee, the Milton kid, right? Why would they do something like that? That organization is also about making sure that they develop down the line quarterbacks, potentially work that quarterback into a situation where they might be able to trade him, right? Those are creative approaches in my mind.
Understood, but I think the idea of the Milton is a lot of upside there, a guy who you want to sit behind somebody. And are you telling me that you think Drake May is a starter? He should be trotted out there right away, or would you? Is the idea to get him, in your opinion, to sit behind a Jacoby Brissett, bona fide NFL backup veteran, the whole thing for a while? Or are we just letting it rip up there in New England? What do you think?
I'm telling you what, I am a let's go. There's a way to do it. When I say let it rip, let it rip. I think we approach it with Matt Ryan, and I would say this to anyone. You get the right supporting cast around you, strong running back. I'm a huge believer in tight ends, Kay. High percentage shots for those young quarterbacks. Have someone that can take it off the top. Make sure you have the offensive line that you're building with. I'd go for it.
Yeah.
I would go for it.
But we're not going for it with Penix in Atlanta.
I don't think we are. No, I don't think we are.
Oh,
You keep
Thomas,
coming back there. I think you're looking for some serious
I just love
polarizing
talking. I
comments.
love talking. It's the craziest thing that's happened, and it was wild. Okay, I like sort of prodding you because you can't say anything. But if I got a couple of drinks in you one day, I think we'd have a different conversation.
Look, all I do know, as you know, and I'm in this city, of course, there's a lot of feedback, and there's a lot going on with social, of course, and digital, but also, on talk radio, which I don't listen to anymore, but every once in a while I participate. Yes, there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of texts coming my way. I don't necessarily know how to answer them, but I trust that this idea of building for now and building for the future and not passing up a draft class of quarterbacks that is top-notch, I'm really excited about. We have not talked about that. That's all I can continue to come back to on this issue, Kay. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I think you'd be pulling your hair out trying to figure out and understand why teams do certain things. And I've been there before, by the way. The grading of these drafts, as you know, right now, it's complicated. We can say what we want to say, but we don't know for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 at least, I'm sure. Okay, let's get to a couple other topics. There weren't any A.J. Brown to the Eagles type trades. You're not around right now, so that kind of stuff wasn't happening. But there was plenty of speculation about the Niners receivers, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, lots of Twitter stuff going on. They draft Ricky Pearsall, a friend of my show, in the first round. You know Shanny real well. Now that the draft is over and both guys are still on the team, how confident should we be that the trade nonsense is over?
I think trade nonsense. I mean, it's interesting because Kyle Shanahan, he wants the studs around him. He pushes, and he will push John Lynch to be mindful of keeping what they can keep and continue to make that drive towards winning a Super Bowl, right? So I don't see him pulling back. If at all it can be done, I see him pressing and saying, let's try to put all the pieces together and not trade away some of our great players. Brandon Ayuk, when you think about a guy like that, he needs to be on that team in my mind, personally speaking. As far as the other trades and the other talk about this, Ricky, that is a future type of pick. I know he's a friend of your program. I was a little surprised maybe in their approach with that, only because I thought there were other players out there. I think he's a good football player for that organization, and he fits in well, as you know, in talking with him, right? Such a solid individual, and I think he's going to be good for that team.
Who did you like there?
Well, I think, I might have, again, you know me, trade up guy. I might have traded up a couple spots here and there. I was a worthy guy, by the way. I love to see some big-time speed on a team. I was happy that the Chiefs ended up doing what they were doing, but again, I think there were other guys that fell into the second round that were definitely bona fide receivers that could help.
You would have traded up to get Worthy? What are you saying? What should the Niners? Because there's the thing. No, you're saying you're happy for the Chiefs. No one's happy for the Chiefs. I feel like, why are we even having a season? Now you gave this kid this 4-2-1 monster, and why are we even doing this? They're just going to run back and three-peat.
Well, I think because they haven't had a legit speed demon. I mean, they have some speed guys, don't get me wrong. But I love to see what they're going to do with another guy like that. It's interesting for me. I know no one else is cheering for him. I get that. I don't know where you are with Taylor Swift and all that. It gets beyond, of course, at times. But the reality is there are receivers there that you can move up for, and there are receivers you can move back for. In San Francisco, they acquired someone, of course, that they think is a solid program guy for them, of course. And, is he a guy that has the special elements that some of the players they have coming through there? No. But remember, Kyle, like I think Bill Belichick does and some of the great coaches, They know the skills that they need in their system, and they're gonna benefit from those. They don't always need the skills that other teams are looking for. So I'm sure he made a calculated move along with John Lynch here.
Sure, but I mean, I think it's easy to say, like, gotta keep Ayuk. I agree. Like, underrated, under talked about wide receiver one. Gotta keep Debo. I can't imagine not having Debo on the team. But the salary cap doesn't allow it. So then it's, how do you? I don't know what they should do in this situation. But I mean, they've got to go all. We have to agree, like, they have to just go all in this year, right?
They have to go all in. And again, you can only be for so long, and they're revered there. And I know the ownership loves the team, the team builders, of course, John. They love Kyle. They do really good things there. But in the end, it is about putting the win in the column of the Super Bowl history, right? We need that. That is what helps you survive and sign many more contracts, of course. And this is a big thing. I said it going in. Kyle Shanahan is one of the better coaches, or in the top 5 for sure. He is one that I seriously would have, if I ever came back in the league, I would knock on the door to trade for, because I think he has that ability. I still think it's important for him, of course, to win that big one in the very end, which I think he is capable of doing, continue to build around his team, and I think they can do it.
Is it true that Adam Peters was a scout of yours?
Adam Peters was, man. He's getting all kinds of great reviews for what they did there with Dan Quinn. I love what they did there. I mean, I love how they approach it. We were together in New England. We always stayed in contact through his time there. I'm excited for him to pair with Dan, by the way.
What did you make of their draft? You're approving. He's getting rave reviews, good Yelp, 5 stars, all of this. What does that tell me?
Yeah, look, I love Jaden Daniels. He was my favorite quarterback of the group. I mean,
wow.
As far as where he is, what he presents, how he moved through the ranks, as he got to his final year. I loved, people were out there talking about, well, do you feel okay that he hit it at the very last season? That was the top of his game. Yes, no question we do. You have a guy who is a rare athlete. You have a guy sans any character issues that you're trying to dig into, right? This guy is a guy that is going to be upbeat and positive for Dan Quinn, given Dan Quinn's approach. Adam Peters and Dan can work together with a guy like this they can build with for many, many years, with rare athleticism, who can toss the ball at all levels, Kay. I really like this pick. And then they turn around in the second round and get a defensive player. We talked about him to get Newton at that spot. Mm-hmm. By the way, the Falcons traded up to get someone else and pass on Newton. That's obviously another discussion point here in Atlanta and the city of Atlanta. But I like what they did there. I just think they were mindful in how they approached talking about the Commanders and how they approached building this football team for Dan and his staff.
We'll see how fast the turnaround can happen. I know everyone's looking forward to it in the NFC. Other NFC team with big expectations to wrap it up here. The Cowboys, Thomas. Scrutiny. Sleepy offseason. Jerry Jones, he's in a season of his life. He should be going all in, doing whatever he can. I thought they were high on Texas running back Jonathan Brooks. They did not draft a running back. Was that a mistake?
I was expecting him to draft him. I love that player, by the way. Jonathan Brooks is one of the most talented. We knew that whole running back class was going to fall into the second round. Besides his injury, I mean, that cat can do it. Okay, he moves. So we know that. We don't need to go back and forth. It would have been a great get for them. I mean, I love the fact that they've traded back. Is that the first time they traded back in many years? I don't know. I was surprised to see it. Tyler Guyton can add to that offense, of course, provide them what they used to have there, right? An offensive line that was just thriving, and I think it's really important for them. I'm concerned about the running back situation, although they get their old running back, right? So I still think there might be some juice in the tank there. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that approach is.
Is there a draft that you really like that stood out to you?
Look, I'm always a big fan of Howie's. I mean, it's funny because Howie will trade his butt off, and I like that because I think it's aggressive. You can't sit on your hands in this league and expect to be successful for years to come. That's why Howie is successful. And he's in a community, a fan base that loves it, right? They want dudes that are in there that aren't shaky. He's going to make the moves on it. And then what he did, I love that he went after. I think it was one of the gets of the first round in Quinyon Mitchell. I love that player. Beside the fact that he played at a little bit of a smaller competition school, when you watch him at the Senior Bowl, you watch him move around, his ability to flip his hips, his fluidity of action, his ability to stay in phase. That's great. They come back. We know what they did. They're going to continue to build that defense. They bring in, Cooper DeJean, which you know, that's a good place for him to be.
Yeah.
I was hoping people weren't going to reach for him in the first round. They come up and they make another really good pick, I think, in the second. I just liked how they were aggressive.
They
Today's
always are.
world, yeah, I love it. I think it's
Okay,
great.
somebody who was aggressive, you know, Monty over there in Arizona, his second draft as a GM. Can we put some love to what Monty was able to accomplish in not being, you know, he as aggressive as he was in his first, like, whack at it, but he landed some great talent.
I think I'm going to give him the credit too. You think all I'm doing is pumping all of my guys here and not getting down on anyone today? It's probably because I'm a little affected by post drafts and a lot of the B's, C's, and D's that I used to get from Mel Kiper and company, which I do like Mel. But you always want to explain yourself. And the funny thing with someone like Monty Ossenforth comes from a great program. Monty is a tried and true, hardworking, diligent. He is particular in a good way. And I think his way, once again, coming off of what I thought was a really good draft last year, he comes in with Marvin Harrison. I mean, how do you go wrong with that cat, right?
You can't.
That guy can do it. I think they continue to build. And, you know, Darius Robinson in the second round, we can go in depth. I think they're mindful, understand that staff and Monty's approach with the owner. He's going to be communicating with the owner. He's coming in there after Steve Keim, who had a different approach to putting together teams. I think this is a good fit. And I think Monty continues to do a really stout and a thoughtful job in his approach to building the team. He doesn't just reach, in my mind. I think it's calculated, and I like what he does.
I like it, too. I think that their team got a lot better. Great picks by them out there. And I think that, in general, Arizona, because of last year, being slept on out in the NFC West. I was thinking of a way to tie it back into blank and fun, but I'm not going to. You're the absolute best. You know, your friend Eric is doing work on that podcast over at Sumer Sports. So we are so excited about it. When you join and give all of your goodness and your instincts and your experience and bring that to the amazing numbers over at sumersports.com and the Sumer Sports Show podcast with you and Eric Eager. Thomas, we appreciate you.
You're always the best. I appreciate you.
You're the best. I'll see you. I'll send you a Derby invite for 2025. Appreciate you. Next, we'll drive into some of the other quarterbacks. Didn't get to Spencer Rattler with Thomas, but could he be a great value? Is it a good spot for the Saints? Why did he fall? We heard the reports. He sat right here. I liked him a lot. I'll get to it. Thomas crushed that. That was great. No, he can't. Yeah. No, he crushed it. I have to push, you know. Tell him that. I hope he knows that. I have to like needle. It's a hard, you know. It's a hard thing to defend.
Yeah.
Maybe we're all crazy though. Like who knows?
Yeah.
That video.
And again,
walking that video back is like hard to play by play is so hard.
It's funny. You seemed more annoyed that they passed on Johnny Newton in the second round than the Penix pick. That one bothered him.
But like you know he would do anything to get even talking about Monty there. The way he talked about Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
This dude would have cojones 5,000 himself right up to 4 to get him.
Yeah. And
he would have taken the edge rusher. Oh, I don't even remember him saying that. I was too focused on
that's true. He was talking about building up the defense.
Who knew
and he was, and
who knew Dimitroff was so light on his feet? Just
to your Marvin Harrison point, you know, he talks about need and, you know, how they didn't necessarily need it. I mean, he traded up for Julio Jones when they had Roddy White and Tony Gonzalez. So you could say that they didn't necessarily need to do that either, but
yeah. But then, like the point would, you know, like if they had won the Super Bowl, it would be, you know, but a lot. It's like Julio had all best player, all, you know, like what do you have for it? That's the argument, right? So you do that, and then
I mean,
But
they
as far
got
as
there.
like getting
he got the best
player
out of
right.
Matt Ryan, and
then you get to the Super Bowl and you have that catch, and like it's like the forgotten catch from that Super Bowl, of course.
I know. Man, they were so close.
They were so close. The quarterback part, yeah. I mean, I want to say that I'm thinking of like being spicy about Arizona being like my team.
Mm-hmm.
I wish they were in any other division. Could we trade
I know,
them
that's
to
the toughest part.
Could we trade them to a different division? Because you can't. The Rams are going to be good.
I mean, they're technically they're in the South. Put them in the NFC South. There you go. Problem solved.
Put them in the NFC South. I keep wanting. I want to. You know. Kyler's really done me dirty though in my defending of him. All right, and we're back on the F and Adam Show, guys. You can always hang out on our YouTube. Things get spicy. The most truth that gets told on this program is on the YouTube page. So please, in the breaks, in our YouTube exclusive. So please register, subscribe, do whatever you need to do over at F and Adam Show on YouTube. Now, we saw a record-tying 6 quarterbacks go in the top 12 picks on Thursday night. Things took kind of a stunning turn for the position. After that, we went another 138 picks until the next quarterback, Spencer Rattler, friend of the program. He goes off the board to the Saints in the 5th round, late. And with Rattler, I will say it was disappointing to hear the reports Rap Sheet had that teams couldn't get the image of a 17-year-old Rattler from the Netflix series QB1 out of their heads. I will say this. In our production meeting, in our prep for this interview, there was a good healthy conversation of like, do we even bring it up? And he was coming in studio, our first like big prospect studio guest. Do we bring up the Netflix thing, or is it like adding to a narrative that, you know, we don't even need to get to? People either saw it or they don't. Like, he shouldn't have to answer for it because it was so freaking long ago. And we landed on, let's give him the opportunity, if it presents itself, like if I'm feeling it out there, to let him sort of speak on his growth, to let him speak on his evolution as a human. Because if you're sitting here and telling me that you're the same human you were years and years and years ago, you're lying. And so I did ask Spencer about it, and here's what he had to say. That QB1 thing, Netflix, people have their thoughts. What would you have done differently?
You know, I was a kid at the time. That's how we competed. I'm a super competitor, so, you know, we get into it. I'm still close with those guys to this day. You know, I had a great time. Have a lot of kids and fans that come up to me and say, you know, they're big fans of me from that show. So it was definitely a blessing to be able to, you know, get others' attention and be that motivating factor for them to play the game, inspire them, the youth. So, you know, there's a good and bad, but, you know, I wouldn't change a thing.
It's hard for me to buy that the image of a 17-year-old on a produced Netflix program was the reason for a spiral fall in the draft. Like, I'd like to give evaluators, GMs more credit. I can't say anything. I've met him once for an hour. He couldn't have been more wonderful, you know, vulnerable in that, even just in that moment, but behind the scenes. I know that he had good meetings. I heard that from several teams. So I'm not totally, if there had to be something else, in my opinion, if that is the reason, what are we doing? Grow up. Like, we can't condemn a prospect off a bad impression you made when he was 17, if that's the reason. I have a sneaking suspicion it's not. Whatever happened, it's in the rear view now. You tell all the prospects, and everybody out there knows this, you kind of go where you're supposed to go, and you got to make the best of it. You can only control what you can control, and he can prove everybody wrong. We've seen it time and time again in the draft. Where you end up matters more than when you get taken. And when you look at the makeup of the Saints quarterback room, he's going to have a chance to earn the number 2 job right out the gates here. He's going to get to develop behind a true pro in Derek Carr, you know, great teammate. And if last year was any indication, he might have opportunities to play early on. You know, injuries are a thing. I'm not wishing that on Derek at all. I'd love to see him succeed and make waves in New Orleans. But between that rash of ups and downs because of that, I don't know. I think there could be an opportunity for Spencer to see the field at points here. I'm excited for what he's got ahead of him because he's got a chip on his shoulder. And if those reports are true, that's even more. So, Spencer, go out there and show everyone that they are wrong about you. All the quarterbacks after that top, they slid. None of them knew where they were going to go, and they all sort of, you know, win amok here. Spencer wasn't the only one. Despite Drake May, 3rd overall, the Patriots couldn't pass up on Joe Milton's talent. He went in the 6th round. I think he's a great value and great add to that quarterback room. RG3 and Cousins from the 2012 draft in Washington. Can you guys remember that? I feel like Milton has this ability to turn his journey into a Kirk Cousins-esque success story. I got through that alliteration perfectly. I talked to him about his arm talent, and here's what he had to say, along with some ridiculous visuals from the combine. Take a look.
I have a lot of confidence in my arm. Every time I throw the ball, I know for sure deep down inside I'll make that throw. Even if I miss, I know for sure that the next one I complete. But at the same time, it's just the finesse that my arm talent that I have. Just being able to make every throw. And all the hard ones make them look easy, and then all the easy ones make them look more easy than they are.
I likened him to Josh Allen. I wanted him to go to the Giants and, have Dable get the best out of him like Allen. He can be an absolute threat. He's got some things to clean up. He knows that. He's working on it, and I'll have a chance to do that in New England. And I'd like to see him as a starter somewhere, carving out a place for him somewhere with the ceiling that he has in the NFL. Good luck to him. Finally, another friend of the show, a guy who didn't get drafted but found a home with my hometown, Chicago. Western Kentucky quarterback Austin Reed. If you're a Bears fan and you're following everything Caleb Williams does, which you are. He's absolutely running a clinic on winning Chicago over. Whoa, ha ha, oh yeah, he's excited. This is his reaction to Austin signing with Chicago as an undrafted free agent. These two have history together. Austin talked to me before the draft about his relationship with Caleb. What do you know?
Caleb and I met a month ago. He came down here to draft prep, and I've taken him under my wing. I've taken Caleb under my wing, kind of showed him the ropes, the helping the guy during draft process. But yeah, Caleb and I just mess around all the time. 90% of the time we're poking at each other, digging at each other. So I probably insulted him about something, made fun of him about something that somebody said on social media. But that's the relationship he and I have. I think that's why we have a great relationship. I don't take him seriously. I don't care that he's Caleb, and I think he respects that.
I love, what else? Chicago. Hey, all the bites about Hollywood bringing what better person to have in your quarterback room than somebody who's get over here, knucklehead. You're not, he literally told a story about when he walked into the combine, everybody's kind of oh, there's Caleb, there's Caleb. And Austin's get your ass over here and go, I'm going to throw you the ball. That's amazing. And I hope that continues, and I think it will on the NFL level. And Austin, he's got a chance to stick around in Chicago. He was the nation's passing leader in 2022. The nation's passing leader, better than Caleb, who won the Heisman, right? Okay? He'll compete for the backup job. Rip, fine. Bajent, sure. We love our little moments of Bajent. But I kind of feel like he's going to win it because these two are going to iron sharpens iron. By the way, I do think we will have a not so low-key content landmine, or not landmine? What? Content, you know what I'm saying. Gold mine. Goodbye. We'll be back after this. Good landmine. Excuse me. Don't say that. Great. I'll spend a minute with Hammer any day. Any day. Kat, Monday. I'm gonna come home Monday. Mm-hmm. Early evening. When do you have your next Bears sort of chat? Today? Okay. But maybe wait on that, Kat, because who knows when our last pre-tape will be that day, or post-tape. Sorry.
There's so many flights.
Are there really?
Yeah, there's one every hour.
Bell bottoms today. No, these aren't bell bottoms. They're just, very big pants. Very baggy pants. What else you guys got over here? Peterman still in the league. Rattler will be quarterback 2024. Carr no more. I don't know about that. I'm excited for Rattler, though. I liked talking to him. You guys understand, we put Rattler through a combine here on the Up and Adam show. He was so down for anything, and And it wasn't just like, you can't base something off of first impression, especially when you're like going on TV with somebody and like obviously want to put it on. But I did like talk to people after that interview that really liked meeting him in their one-on-ones, combine-wise, you know. So it's hard for me to buy that would be the reason, unless like he is immature still, and that's something that front offices sussed out. But I don't know. Like, there's never been an immature quarterback drafted. Like, I could name 9 off the dome. So I don't know if I'm buying that. Austin and I had the same college head coach. Austin, he was a great guy. He's a little older. I just like that. I look 10 years younger. I look like a college girl. Must be the mango deck. No, must be the great lighting. Darren, that's you. That's why I look 10 years younger. NFL Network, bad lights. FanDuel, the only sportsbook app where you can bet the Kentucky Derby. Right now, all customers can get a no-sweat Derby bet up to $20. How about that? That's right, you can get up to $20 back if your Derby win bet doesn't win. What are you waiting for? Bet America's #1 race on America's #1 sportsbook. I'll be at the Derby Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Very excited about that. Big thanks to Thomas Dimitroff for popping by the show. Matthew Hamilton, here you are, my friend. Will you be there also?
What's up? I will be there. I'm very excited.
No, because you don't party. You don't like. I gotta going somewhere with Hamilton is like dragging him. Like, oh, can you just have fun with
That's
me?
because someone has to be the responsible
You're
one
like,
here.
I'm doing the A
and it's
block,
not going to
and I'm
be
like,
you.
the A block will write itself if you just like tie one on with me really quick. It'll be fun. The best part is like there's no IFB, meaning like this thing. Look, he's trying to tell me something. We're not 40 seconds. This doesn't exist at the Derby, and I can just run amok. I had a great time. Richard had a he said it was the worst time of his life last year going because it was absolute bedlam. To me, I was like, I don't remember that being the case. I had a delightful time.
And that just speaks to everything Richard did behind the scenes to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I had a great time too. The only negative was Bobby Flay's blackberries ended up all over everything, and from his blackberry old fashioned.
Don't remember it, but it'll be a lot of fun, and you can have a lot of fun with America's #1 sports book. That's right. It's a big day for FanDuel, that Derby. Go have some fun. Check it out. Who you betting on? Let me know at Up and Adams show or at Hey K Adams. Tammy, I'll see you tomorrow.